Following in the footsteps of her great-great-grandmother Jessie, Annie has come back to Aberdeen.
For Jessie, this city must have been overwhelming. I mean, it's a big, dark, dangerous place. She's only little.
Annie's on her way to Broadford Mill, in the neighbourhood where she grew up.
I remember these walls when I was a little girl, as I lived here from the age of as I was a baby until I was about 8 years old, and I used to play with balls, you know, up against the wall, and it was very imposing. If I'd known that my great-great-grandmother as a teenager was working there in the Victorian times, it's almost like fiction.
Annie is being met by Dr. Ancestor.
Hi, Alistair.
Hello, Annie.
Good to meet you.
Welcome to Broadford Works. This is where Jessie would have come every day, 6 days a week. 150 odd years ago.
That's right.
I'm afraid you're going to need a hat before we go in, and we'll unlock the gates. Come away in.
Okay.
Girls did start in a mill like this at the age of 9. She was, what, perhaps 10?
I think she was about, well, that we know that she was working here when she was 13.
At 13, she would have been full-time here, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Flax mills like Broadford were engaged in making linen thread and linen products from the plant flax. Linen was stronger and more durable than its competitor cotton, and Broadford specialised in the manufacture of linen canvas goods, like hose pipes and tarpaulin. In the early 1860s, when Jessie arrived here, business was booming.
She was a country girl. She came in from either Banff or Turf. What would have the contrast been like?
For a girl like her, coming into a mill would be a bit of a shock. Although it's deserted now, in its day this would have been a hive of noise and industry and dust. After all the machinery is running full-time, the temperature goes up and down, the noise of the machines, but I suspect most people adjusted, and she will have done so.
Broadford was one of the biggest textile mills in Scotland, employing more than 2,000 hands, most of them women and young girls. With long hours, 6-day weeks and meagre pay, it was a grueling life.
This is where Jessie would have spent her working day, and she spent it in company with 60 to 100, maybe more girls, most of them teenage, 13 to 18, some younger, operating the spinning machines. The thing is, of course, when they got to 18, they were on full wages. And what often happened was that mill owners, should the girl decide to get married, use that as an opportunity to dismiss them and then engage a younger girl who would be cheaper.
Well, we know she did get married, actually, obviously, because my great-grandfather is her son.
Ancestor has documents that will help Annie piece together Jessie's later life.
Here's the census for 1871.
Ah, this is the census that I saw earlier on when I was in the
okay.
Aberdeen Library. Jessie is now 24. She's married to James Henderson, and they have a son of 4 years old, whose name is Charles. That is my great-grandfather, my grandmother's father.
You notice she's described merely as a wife.
Wife.
So she's obviously given up work. She's settled. She's part of a family, her family.
So it's a little bit brighter, hopefully.
It is indeed. 1881 is the next census.
Ah, fabulous. Right.
And the family has grown.
OK, so, the family has grown, hasn't it? 1, 2, 3. She's got 4 sons. Charles is 14 here.
I'm afraid 4 years later, 1885, this is not census, but this is a death certificate. Jessie's death certificate.
Oh, so there's Jessie Henderson.
Yeah.
Oh, dear me. Death, 22nd of November. Now, let me see if it says cause of death. Carcinoma, would that be?
Ulcerous.
Ulcerous carcinoma. And she was 35. She was just 35. Oh. Oh, how sad. Now I have some sense of Jessie and who she was. It's a life of tremendous hardship and very few opportunities. I'd like to think that her husband was kind to her, and I'd like to think that they had some kind of a better life. But it is pretty overshadowed with tragedy, really. When I first looked at this photograph, it was just this picture of a man. But now, as I look at him, knowing that he's Jessie's son, and I know her story, there's a whole different sort of connection as I look at him. And it's almost as if I'm feeling like they know I know. Maybe, you know, there's a trace of his mother, Jessie, in his face. It's quite a dramatic story. It would have been lovely if my grandmother would be around to have that knowledge. But, you know, we'll take it forward, which is just really beautiful. It hasn't been lost, and that's really a lovely thing.